Hello. Hi, good morning. It's me, Redwan from redwan.org, Malaysia. Today is 1st June 2014. I'm going to show a more up-to-date using FitNesse to speed up Idempia and Idempia software development. Now, this is a more advanced demo than my previous tutorials on YouTube. So it's basically been covered before, and you could go to the basics in this page, fitnesslim.com. That's been written out to get you starting, especially how to where to find and how to configure the storage scripts and how to get the jar working. Okay. So basically this demo is just to review the very tough parts, right? I've written a bit here for you to just to refresh, to recap that we consider FitNesse testing is the same as using JUnit code but with a wiki format, right? This is the wiki format that we meant, okay? It's in the wiki format. And let me start it first, okay, so that we can see wiki format. I'm going to do a demonstration here for Idempia. This is Idempia 361 final, and which I happen to be developing a budget module these few weeks. So let me get it up. Here it is. This is the wiki format we talk about. But I will also be showing the difference a bit between Idempia and Idempia, which of course in Idempia the OSGI framework things are much more advanced. Right, let's continue. Well, of course the good best practice is that you should code the testing first before the actual development, but in my case I did it quite a bit late, yeah. And the test code are basically just pointers wrapped within a framework, but it gives you beautiful visible feedback, the passing of log results. This will happen when we press the test here. Okay, so I will now touch on the tough parts. The first thing that's tough about FitNesse is when you try to create a new subpage. Right? This is the first thing I discovered. There's a problem. Let's say I want to create a new subpage. Let me try and create it back here. Let's say I want to create it here. It is quite tough. Let me try. Let's say you should have 2 syllables. And they must be leading caps, right? But they can be tricky. Let me see if it works. It works in this case. Well, what I'm saying is that if it does not work, you could type it here, like say begin budget or something, right? And here you could save it and it will test it for you. So let me just remove this. Where do you delete? Okay. Right. So we are back. And about reusing scripts. Sometimes you hit a problem in a long script. For example, in this case, when I'm testing, sometimes I hit errors even within this very long script that I did. So what I do is that I copy out. The way to copy it out is to press the edit button here and just make some slight copy and then transpose it to a test page which contains lesser code, and it can be lesser than this and don't need to do certain parts. Okay, so I'm going to walk through a bit of my test code setup for my budget module. So you can see from here, that this task code basically, this will be the class. For example, let's go to user setup, go to my Eclipse. In the user setup, you will find that it's just a POJO, Java object, and it corresponds to this. So if you have a field called business partner, this will be the header or the parameter, and you are passing in a value called Joe block. So in business partner, you will have a set before it, and this is what is being passed, and then you persist it. You persist this code. Okay. So if there's a question mark, it's a getter. So a getter will be just a method called get periods. Right. So let's look for get periods. Yeah, here it is. So what it returns, you can repeat it here so that if it's true, it'll be green. Okay. So a bit about my test code here. I'm trying to explain is that, let me get to my page again. What I'm trying to explain is that sometimes you need to persist your data, right, for live use. Even, for example, past accounting facts are no, sorry, this is not persisted, but this part, creating calendar year and periods, are persisted. Okay, those that are not persist, you do not need to restore your database, which is the purpose of not persisting the test data. I'll give you an example how to persist it. For example, for the calendar year and periods, let's go back to where calendar years and periods is done. Basically, is done here. You could specify a year, calendar year that is not been set up, right? Year periods and the user setup. So year period, where here, sorry, here I have done the routine to create the year, and I put a null check so that if it's been created, it'll just be created once. So if that year is not created, how I persist it is that I push a transaction ID, right? I create my own transaction ID, okay, for its runtime, and at the end of it, I will comment. So what this does is that it will persist the data, whereas the other routines, for example, popular facts, sorry, popular facts, if you were to see popular facts, is done using another transaction name, which was, you just basically don't commit it, and the facts will just not be persisted. It will be used during testing time, runtime, but this will be persisted because yes, it's useful to have the calendar years and periods automatically open, as I'm showing here. Let me show again. So I even open the periods, which is nice because, let me show you what I mean. You don't have to do it again and again. So once you have run the tests one time, the years are persisted and is automatically opened. That's done by the code. So FitNesse is, or unit test code is a good way to set up things. Of course, here is my test data, And one thing good about FitNesse, like explained before, is the repetitive steps. In my case, I'm trying to do lots of series of general ledger postings and or purchase orders, invoices with different parameters or values to test the business plan rules here. So in manual mode, it would probably take me about 10-20 minutes to do all this, but here I'm just doing with one click. But I like to debug it with my Eclipse, okay, my integrated development environment. So the trick is to uncheck this variable so that you debug it at a port 1044, which I have configured here, right? 1044 as a remote Java application. And now I'm ready to test. At the same time, I must press this button. Up. It sometimes does not work on the first try, so you have to do it again. It's a bit slow. Okay, it's a bit slow. Let me try again. Okay, got it this time, hopefully. So usually you'll be quite efficient in swapping to and just starting this at the same time. So now it's running. Let's watch the page. It's running, and where the getters are returning the same result as published in the wiki, you have green, as in this case. So yeah, it's true. 12 periods to a year is obtained. I'm showing you this case where I hit an error. Subsequently, an error came about. So here are the business plans. Business plans have been mailed, and the error is not noticed here because it's captured in the output log. So this is very good because well, output logs should be here where you could get to them, but it's fine because the error that I come about here is in budget utils line 256. Let me get back to my code. Budget utils line 256. Here it is. There is a null exception, so I'm not sure what it is. I'll just put a stop here. Right? Very quickly. Go back. Run it again. Slow screen. Okay, let's try again. A bit slow because of screen capture. Alright, so it is running and the break will come up. Okay, here it is. So very convenient. I do not have to do a purchase, actual purchase, and the test do it for me. And it detected an error, and I put a mouse over and discover this line has been null. And I try to find out why, because it was doing a budget terrain, and okay, it's null, yes, because it's a revenue line. But it went to purchases because this trend last but average was something I did not test before, and now it's hitting error. So I'm going to solve it, and after some thinking I knew that if I could just test that this line equals null, it should be here. Okay, and I should do the same test for the other routine. I believe will hit the same error. Let me see. This is year to date, trend average. Yeah, and this is progressive rate increase formula. Let me see. Yeah, anyway, let's solve this part first. So I could break now since I knew that this should be the way to solve it. So another thing, disadvantage here about 8 ampere versus 8 ampere is that you have to deploy your test script or I mean your module that you're working on. So in my case, this budget module, I'd create the job again. Whereas in iDempier, you do not need to. It's basically in the OSGI framework, which Eclipse is using the same framework. So I have to update my job and package it again. Yes, so I copy it, paste it, and then I have to run silent setup. Right? So let me, okay, I have to close this anyway. This is the trouble with the old way. So you have to run this and it will take a few minutes. Whereas in iDempier is just a plugin where you just do it right in Eclipse and deploy it as a plugin into the OGI console. So this will take a few minutes. Then when that's finished, I will just resume this back and error should be solved as here. Okay, so I could try this, stand by to try this again, just for the satisfaction of it. Disable this first and let it go because it saves time anyway. You don't have to worry about stepping too slowly when you're using this style of framework. Let's see if it's done. Still taking time. Let's give it a few minutes. Right. So let's revisit this thing. All right. So let's review back that this allows you to do tests, JUnit tests in a wiki format. And you can set parameters into a method, a setter, and get. Well, it gives you beautiful visible feedback and with the passing of the log results to the error page. And you can rearrange lots of repetitive steps. For example, you may have a sales order after this, GL posting and things like that. Of course, you have to create them in your code. Here I prepared a budget activity and where I define all this code, and you then define and put out all your code that does something. Okay. Another beautiful code will be this one, query, is that you can query any table. Right? You just give the table name and what the fields you want to pull out, and it will appear like here. Yeah, I was managing to query only one set of data. Right? It can be any table. It can be sales orders or other requests and things like that. So it's in a different format as this one. This one is where you have the setter and getters, whereas here are just the fields of the table in a flat form. Very convenient. And again, this is not persistent, so you do not have residual data in there. But the account sequence could not be helped. It will keep generating itself, so you might need to restore back your accounting sequence if you want to turn back your database for live use. Let's check if this is finished. It's still taking time. It's a bit slow because of the data capture program that's running. Okay, so we might not see this in this demo, but I'll just hang on and talk about something else of my budget module. So my budget module here, where you can set multiple criteria in the budget plan. Okay, I do not. Almost there. Okay. So you can have it whether it's a sales or a purchasing budget, or just a GL based with other account IDs. This is purchasing ID. So you can have by organization, by the period, with a pro rata rule, and by other dimension like project, campaign, activity. Or you can set a budget rule specific to a product, and you can have them a percentage over the revenue. Okay, and you can have an alternative revenue. This is the percentage base, and it can be based on a fixed amount or a product quantity. That's the beauty of it. Let's check back. Almost there. Okay, and going back to the code. This is the actual code. Let me show you how I put it. This is my actual code. That's and this is my FitNesse feature code, which is a testing code. So to set up this project, it depends on your main Adempia project with the module that you package with, right? And you push this to the top in the order of export, so that you get this overriding code of the main. This is again the issue with the old Adempia. In Adempia, we uses the more factory services pattern and avoid the jar class buffel. We are still a bit away. Oh, come on, waiting for it. Movie is getting larger in this file. I always use a text script note to dump issues and error as well as my storage scripts, so then I could keep them, store them, those that work well. Yeah, it should be done. A bit more. Another thing is that in your Adempia Rumpia you need not, because it's in the OHI container, and you have to class path your working module. Again, in Adempia you need not do that. Again, you have to do this path hell with the old legacy non-OHI approach. Okay, here it is done, and remain my case, the FitNesse test, and let's do it again. It is holding. Okay, it's holding. Let's see it work. It's also beautiful to watch because you could just go for your coffee and come back later and watch the top here where there's a rate or so forth, right? Okay, and let's see if Well, the 3 wrong because I took out 3 things to test. I hit another problem. So it's an index out of bounds, and it's happened in 712. So very quickly I could get back and then solve it and repeat the same cycle again. So you can see this shorten a lot of the time of repeating, making purchase order and restoring data. So all this thanks to having FitNesse. That's all from here. This very insightful demo into the life of a debugger using FitNesse. Bye bye.